better. Okay. Good afternoon. Good afternoon to all patriots and every South African, those that are in the country and them that are in the diaspora. It is indeed a good afternoon to all our foreign nationals who are in our country and to our sister countries. It's a good afternoon once more as a salutation to all the leadership, every man and every woman preordained to lead people, to lead a generation. It's a good afternoon to every political movement in the country, every man that has a voice and had a voice, those that are standing for the ordinary people of this nation. It is indeed good afternoon to all the young people in our country who are hopeful for a better future. Great news. In our generation, there wouldn't be any vacuum, for leadership shall at all times emerge in order to raise and also prevail a people that has a heart for the Republic. Thank you so much for all the confidence all over the country and those that are in the diaspora. It is indeed an honor to lead such people who are actually having heart for this nation. It's a privilege that the Lord has actually granted, that one is able to can lead and also present a new narrative in a country which is versatile in its politics, but moreover in a country that in the process of things, we have not yet opened our hearts for the newness of things. Though we're suffering corruption, though we're suffering all these injustices, the people of the country have not yet opened their hearts for the newness, and moreover for the real new dawn that the people of this country are anticipating. Ladies and gentlemen, this call in this afternoon, it is a call for a reply, I would say, because as the government of ECOFORUM, we work on the ground with the people, and the local men and the local women are imposing questions that on the political spectrum, they are actually not being attended to accordingly. Most movements and parties will come and serve people in particles, and moreover, share rhetorics which a layman on the street, local men and local women who are the real government, they have no privilege to understand political language and also understand the shenanigans that are actually transpiring as a propaganda on the ground. Ladies and gentlemen, confidence, I'm hereby to actually speak to us as to reply to some of the questions of national interest, and we're dealing with matters that which are hanging, that needs to be dealt with, so we can bring resolution to our people. Now, it's very much important to actually remember where we are from as a nation. Now, one of the questions that actually came on board in this question and answer were questions which were relative and moreover directly, implied to this government. And the people have heard other leaders speak. People have heard other presidents speak. People now, they want to hear alternative voices. People want to hear alternative leadership. People want to hear alternative governance. People want to see the newness in leadership. And they want to hear people, that will tell them in regard to their livelihood, their household, economy, and wealth, and present a way of a national plan that would muchly be aligned to their daily mundanes. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the first question that they imposed was, is there leadership in our country? Is there leadership in our country? Or one would say, when it speaks about governance, are we in a position to fully declare that we are experiencing the governance that we all want to see? Is there leadership in our country? Now, let me just pour in reply. Liberals represent certain groups and also none others. They fail to include all South Africans in their so-called and subversiveness, and also any national division. Failing to provide moral leadership, they treat social problems through expensive government programs that treat only the symptom and not the cause. And their attitude towards businesses ignore how families depend upon businesses for their livelihood. They are so fearful of religious oppression that they consider terrorism as the enemy. And their concern for minority rights borders on excluding them from what we have left of our national culture. And now The biggest blunder as liberals on excluding them from what we have left of our national culture, the blunder becomes that losing sight of the very thing they claim they stand for while competing with their opposition. They feel they have all the answers when fail to even hear questions. Each extreme will say or do anything that benefits not their cause, but their thirst for power. They don't even see how their streets animosity produces only contention, failure, and disappointing victories. To make it worse, they have convinced many of us that if we support one party, we cannot believe in any opposition advocates. Both feel that they are taking the moral high ground when in fact they suffer from short-sightedness. It is time that we question each party severely and leave no quarter to hypocrisy or maliciousness. We must do this from the standpoint of our moral convictions, something they both lack, and despite claims to the contrary. But when the conservatives have been the largest also government we have ever seen, while people still buy into their small government rhetoric, they have chipped away at our civil rights and defined family values in terms of politics and discrimination. They have damaged the autonomy of our three branches of government and tried to blur the separation of church, also the state, that makes true democracy possible. Family values are quickly set aside for corporate interest. Their idea of patriotism has nothing to do with the government of, by, and for the people, but of a failing in line with one's leaders of national pride, like any imperialistic monarchy. Their crusades against taxes smacks of arrogant hypocrisy while propagating the largest deficit ever. Their lockstep mentally curtails free thought and creativity and fails to hear the voice of those who are oppressed. Leaders and also leaders of political parties, and particularly the leadership, the confidant of the government of ECOFORUM, must actually make this discussion and also make a patriotism through the following. One must actually begin to ask a question and say, I will apply my search for truth to political issues and not allow any other party or political leader to unduly influence my feeling or also my vote. I'll be critical and political strategic that tells me, or be strategic and also use the strategies that tells me what to think in order to increase the power of a particular party. And one must actually say, I will question what the media tells me, and be aware of their opportunistic, also sensationalist priorities that are running both politics and culture today. I will examine political statements for what they are not saying and for what they are meant to steer our attention away from. I will reject glitches and also political rhetoric that attempts to stop me from thinking beyond them, no matter how comfortable they feel. I'll take responsibility for my own political choices and not blindly follow those of my parents, friends, and advocacy of groups. I'll support political leadership only so long as it represents what is good and performs its actual duty honorably. I do not expect perfection from a leader. I will actively condemn hypocrisy, dishonesty, manipulation of the issues, nationalistic, and also the creeds that tries to shape opinion, and patriotic rhetoric that tells you to stop thinking and fall in line. Such oppressive tactics oppose everything that freedom and democracy is all about. I'll write letters to editors, send opinions to representatives, positively articulate my opinion with a constant sense of courtesy and perseverance. Ladies and gentlemen, leadership in our country, we are still, and the reasons are we don't have leadership, but we do have political managers. And political management is one politically managing a particular policy for a particular group of people, but failing to advocate the very policy and moreover the so-hailed constitution advocated for on behalf of ordinary South Africans. So South Africa is in need of leadership. For when leadership is being presented, in every generation, there is going to be a breed of leadership. Now, to be frank, with all the hope to have Nelson Mandela as the father of our nation, with all the hopes to have Sobukwe as the fathers of this nation, and others, with all the hopes of having even the current leadership, we shouldn't actually now find ourselves in a space where we lie to ourselves that we have come to a vacuum and there won't be any leaders because our favorite icons. In every space of generation, there's gonna be a dispensation of leadership, young and old. Now, what is important is a nation to open up their hearts, open up their homes, and in reception of such leaders. The greatest thing is to hear, coming, because out of such leaders that might be demised or might not be popular, they are of important measures. They are of important, I would say, measures and also disciplines that come about. There are certain things that are being hidden in other parts of leadership. Could it be whether the state, whether the church, whether the academia, whether in business, whether in law, and there are certain solutions and resolutions that would be manifest or would not be experienced or experienced by the people until such leaders are actually emerged. It's important in our time that we shouldn't lie to ourselves that because a particular party is coming to a slowly end, we are also have come as a people to a place of a vacuum in terms of leadership. Now I want to say that in the matter of leadership, leaders will emerge from all sectors, and leaders will come up in every discipline with all controls, and they would emerge in order to assist a generation to take this nation forward. Now, My conclusion on this answer would be leadership and governance cannot be red taped. It can't be acquired from a particular political movement or a particular sector. It must be a free flowing. And so we are all able to can actually find our own leaders. The reason why I've actually now shared what I've shared earlier now, through patriotism and also through a great discretion, to say if you apply your own search of political truth in political issues, and not allow any other party or any other particular party or in populism of a leader or of a party to unduly influence your values or even your vote. You are at liberty critically to stand moreover and look at the spheres and also be aware of what the media is actually feeding. Sometimes the media sensationalize or also opportunistically they popularize a propaganda of a particular political party in power. And the people on the ground might not be able to catch all this and all those shenanigans and all those opportunistic, shenalistic priorities that are actually running both in politics, business, and culture today. Now, true leadership is still in a want. We are still in a want of leadership and also its governance. Now, the people of South Africa have asked the president the question, and now it has become a public knowledge. Every political leader is talking about what I'm going to talk about. In 2018, when South African asked, President, what will it be your input as you are now running as a president candidate in 2019? One of our pillars, I would just put it this, one of our pillars on our growth plan of action 2100, which actually now signifies a centenary policy which will run for the next 100 years, which goes beyond a leader, a particular leader in place or in charge. I stood before the nation and we spoke about national unity government. Now, in simple terms, leaders in South Africa are now anticipating for 2024 national general elections, in which they call it coalition. It has begun in many of our municipalities, in many of our metros. We've seen a great deal of coalition, political parties who don't even serve from the same pot, or they can't see eye to eye, political parties who criticize one for another, and the political parties who demise one for another. They had no choice. The people have actually voted. They had no choice to come to some sort of an agreement in order to appoint a manager who can manage those particular metros, managers who can manage those particular municipalities. And we have seen coalition taking place in our country. in a misendeavor, and it is actually happening moreover opportunistically. The most parties, no matter how hard they howl against another, they are actually found wanting. They are found wanting. They enter into some sort of treaties with political parties that they claim that those political parties are coming to a last breath. That collusion on those levels have actually now produced the greatest shenanigans, and moreover, would say we have seen prima facie that most of these collusions are actually the cause of the illicit economic downfall that we are actually facing in all of these metros and in all of these municipalities. You could once say that it's a convergence of facts. It's a convergence of dictators who are not only just they feed themselves, but they've forgotten about the real mandate in order to execute governance in all of those spheres. And as much as all of them, they howl corruption, because a corrupt seed is planted in most of the political parties due to their funding, and some of them, they cannot even represent the people they claim to represent. Then they will actually now be brought to a compromise position. And that itself, even good political parties and leaders, loses their leadership and cannot execute governance. Indeed, South Africa needs leaders that are actually determined to stand for its people. But now, confidence, we need to also look at this in this way, that the national unity government can only be imagined through this scope, and moreover making an assurance that we put a scrutiny in what is being spoken of, because in 2024 it is important that we have a national government, which is the so-called coalition of multiple political parties coming to an agreement, mending their policies, and also in compromising their power so they can be able to emerge as the united front on behalf of the people of South Africa. And the one thing that I know that we're going to have as a problem is the presidential syndrome that we have in our country, is the illusion of everybody being a president, and nobody want to be there to assist the president. So everybody declares to be a president because you are a leader in a political party. Now I want to present this as to extrapolate for understanding. In 2024, going forward, we are going to experience multiple treaties being entered by political parties, which is called as a national unity government. And when I declared this in 2018 and 2019, because being an entrant party, many people could not adhere to the call or could not adhere to what we were actually saying. And the people are actually now choosing who they want to hear. That's the problem why people feel there is a vacuum. Because the vacuum is where you are actually choosing to hear, but the vacuum will not be in the very broad spectrum of leadership. So I stood out as a president of ECOFORUM in declaration that there would be a national unity government, and this is on our growth plan of action 2020. It does not specify that it will happen in 2019, but it says, so it shall it be that this nation, we will come to a place where political parties will depend even on smaller parties in order to make a decision and also take the highest parliament. Now, that is very much actually imperative that we need to actually understand and know that it will happen. It doesn't matter who wishes or who sees themselves as president. This will surely happen, and it will happen in a time that in 2024, a national unity government will be forged. It will be emerging as a united front. But what we need, because remember, the emergence of a corruptible seed will at all times prevail corruption. The emergence of lack of leadership will always prevail, lack of leadership, and will produce political management. Even in times of national unity government, will have a twine or moreover team players that have the same attitude and mind, that will want to run this country as if it's their own household, and do as they will and as they wish, independent, whether they are in a coalition, independent whether they are in a united forum. Because we have seen that in Johannesburg, we have seen that in Swani, we have seen that also in many of our in many of our municipalities, in all of those metros. We have seen how these united fronts, they fronted themselves, and corruption continued, and there's been an illicit and also an economic down spiral in all of those municipalities. But I urge South Africa or South Africans to begin to make an introspection. And as you would be actually engaging in this political spheres, and get to understand that your votes counts, and your voices do count as a nation, and as you are the true government. Now, it shall be a national government in 2024, but what is important is that we need to make sure we push every leader that we feel that must be part of it. It's very much important. That is actually what I can deliver, to say the NUG, the National Unity Government, shall surely come to pass. But what we need to push as many leaders as we should, that we feel they are actually right for the job, or they could actually deliver on behalf of people. Now, let me deal with the third question. South Africa is asking these questions, which we all long that could actually be answered without prejudice, favor, but they make an assurance that people hear the truth and they live with the very truth. They ask the question to ESCOM. They ask a question in regard to ESCOM, They said, President, we see how things are rolling in a country. And I really want to admit that we need to be honest to ourselves. And once we are honest, we'll be able to can deliver the truth to the people and make sure that we speak the truth pertaining to these matters. Because the matter of ESCOM is a matter of a system. It is a matter of privatization. It mentioned on the 27th of April, which we call Freedom Day, and as I was actually stipulating in history, liberational movements that came on board, and with the deception from as far as colonialism, may the Queen rest, her soul rest in eternal peace. And we spoke about colonialism, and we put it out there on how it dominated laws and also the appropriation of constitutions, and also how it demised and territorially dominated resources which were extracted, how it also introduced the three-way trade that actually presented before the nations of the world labor, which is slavery. We have seen how it actually colonially brought in what we call a debt burden and economic restructuring. We saw it when paper money was introduced. So all of these things logistically were also brought in power and shared through white supremacy that afforded the ideological meaning foundations for European colonialism. And it went on, and we call the others who come from the West and those who come from Africa. It went on and on. So colonialism became one of a giant, a demon that stood against the people. And politically, even if we can try not to want to talk about it, it addresses a particular race, it must be actually addressed, because it is even today still has the same effect of power, over nations and over governments. So many of governments cannot operate seldomly. They can't operate on their own. They depend on these masters. And now I also presented to us nationalism, which I trust that we thought through all our political parties, which in 1910, that it will become a solution. It will actually deal with the national of the people. And we realized that this became moreover of a complex and a problematic concept for a socialist ideology. And all of that, now brought forth, we saw through nationalism, we saw socialism, we saw, communism, we saw them now coming on board. And instead of becoming national, and we saw it now, exemplifying a different ideological movement, promoting autonomy, which was supposed to promote unity, sovereignty of local men and local women, but it never did so. It only feeds the socialists. It is these are policies that actually now are they are programmed to can muchly serve a certain narrative for a particular party, or them that whether are Democrats or Republican, or them that are meaning national in throughout the globe, and it never operated. It never worked. We also experienced apartheid. Never worked, and this became one of the brutal systems that not just became a system, but it became a disease that brutalized our people and brought segregation and discrimination, that which lasted for 46 years, from 1948 to 1994. But what the apartheid regime has actually given birth unto is that they prepared themselves for privatization, and they transfer these public narratives, and they narrowly transferred this public owned and publicly operated, meaning owned companies and operations, and they then therefore narrowly red taped by dealing away with certain acts of the parliament and of the country. And when you repeal and you activate such acts that would muchly be factual causations in regard to the endearment of the people, you are actually propelling the very same colonialism, the very same social, even if you can go as far as nationalism, you are propelling apartheid in the seasons and dispensation of democracy. You are causing democracy to be demonized and as a craft that actually had to speak against the people and speak against its local men and women. So now that is what the masters of apartheid has done. And I'm going to answer it in this way and robustly so I can put it down so you understand what we're talking about. Very much important, one should understand. So this common way of doing things, which we see today, our SAA is been actually meaning also being on the market for a private buyer, and it has actually now prevailed. And now you see now ESCOM is part of the SOEs that are actually eyed by the so-called capitalists. And in other words, this capitalistic approach is the one that is actually now in Africa would cause a severe economic down spiral, not only on just the economy, but I'm talking about the household economy. The people on the ground, the local men and the local women would be brought to their knees, and to be a great deal of impoverishment because of this system. So now ESCOM is part, and it is documented in order, so they will not rest until they actually now come on the other side with the white paper that was actually propelled and produced and presented by the then president W. de Klerk. It is a plan and privatization. When you look at it there, you will see that it actually now disallows the people and also state-owned properties are then therefore being put into the market. And now there's going to be a way of handling it, which I need to actually put it out there in public so you can understand. So these public assets, such as the sale of the state-owned power stations, airlines, telecommunication facilities, we have seen telecom, we have seen it sinking and now being privatized. We have seen SAA, the same thing happened. We are seeing now ESCOM. So what would they would actually now bring ESCOM to its knees where it can function economically, where ESCOM will be at a space where it cannot be capitalized no more by the state. That alternatively, if they can privately own it, they can actually make it to become one of the best, which is the truth. So now, all of these state-owned, now which are being eyed through the system of privatization, they are being attacked. Let me show you how they do it. They are attacked and they use regulatory functions and processes of the states and controls of the state, and they go into they go to the parliament, they pass bills, they go they go into judiciary, and they present themselves, and moreover presenting a dead SOE, they make an assurance that they put incapable leaders, incapable CEOs that are actually assigned to actually put such SOEs on their knees. And once that is done generally, then there will be a shift that would say, and they'll start even now speaking a narrative that says, if we could privatize such state-owned, then we could be able to now safeguard the electricity of the country. So this ESCOM issue that we're having now, which we never had 20 years ago, this ESCOM issue, which I can tell you through the prevalence of, now in 2018, personally I presented before the nation, which once it was neglected because being an entrant party and being a president that is not known, young, and come with the fresh insight. Now I brought Dr. Dudley, and we sat down with Dr. Dudley, who actually now is CEO of this particular engineering company. And the man himself declared that we have silos. We have this and we have that which we can be able to as to assist the country in whatsoever we are actually facing as an energy manipulation. And I that men from even the era of the former president Zuma to the era of the current president Ramaphosa not being heard until to date. And let me say that I had to announce it on the stage of IEC that we do have a solution for energy manipulation, and that solution is there. But I can tell you that the players, or the big players that are actually now the ones who are heralds on the very states owned enterprises, they are the ones who are hindrance. They've become the wall of China. They are standing against, they are the big wall that stands against progress, because then they would know that if that would happen, obviously there'll be change in whatsoever community being used, whether you are using your coal, supply coal, and there'll be change of such things, and there'll be introduction of another. And I remember even when the then President Zuma wanted to now present what we call nuclear energy. Now, we know that now the introduction will also bring another master. But now, as a country, we need to come to a certain place where we make decisions of some sort, so that we can be able to have a progress report in where we come from. So ESCOM is a propaganda. I trust that they want to now finalize and conclude the mission of privatization in the country before this president can actually move. You see, and that is unfortunate. Remember, ANC will not die in a day. And actually, even if you can pray that it dies, it might not die. Let me tell you why. Because when the creator looks at ANC, there are people in ANC that are keeping ANC moving. Whether through moral, whether you can call them through any name. But there are people who are keeping ANC alive until today. Like I will borrow from a perspective. Jacob was part of the cluster, and when God, the Almighty, the Creator, wanted to kill Israel and destroy Israel, but because of Jacob, he could not, because the blessing is in the cluster. If you kill Jacob, you have killed everything. So even if I want to that's childish, because they might not die, but they are sustained by the good part that is in within it. Now let me give you this one, because I never had a president talking like I'm talking. You want to hear negativity, attacks, and all of that. It's okay. We are attacking the spirit behind, not people. It's important. I'm saying AC might not die as you actually now also wanted to die, because God looks at Jacob, he safeguards Jacob. I want to show you that. Now, what we need to do is to know how to forge that NUG, the National Unity Government, and know how to bring solutions, on the table, so that such kind of press conferences can be honored by the country, so they can hear an alternative voice speaking, healing the heart and bringing resolution on matters. The matter of privatization is there, and it will be there. So the issue of ESCOM is not the issue of mismanagement. It's not even the issue of whether the ANC is corrupt, whether the ANC leaders are corrupt. No, it is the issue of a system of privatization. For we know that ANC doesn't have an upper hand on the economics. That is the white supremacy that has the upper hand. So they will control it as masters to as long as they can. Now we need to open our eyes and know this thing and whatsoever is a propaganda that has to actually now fulfill the illicit mandatory of privatization. Now, they asked another question: post-COVID trauma and fatalities. Now, one woman asked because they've lost their loved ones, they are losing their mothers, they are losing their friends, they are losing their partners, and everybody's losing somebody. After a diabolic, 24-hour, months, years of an intense, I would say, time in any community, we found ourselves wanting, and nobody would answer, because now suddenly in 2020 we found ourselves meaning in this kind of situation, and whether we never knew whether it was a scam, or is there going to be somebody who will be responsible to actually take on the post-trauma. What will it be that the governments will do to assist the people who are suffering the repercussions, or who are the consequences? The people who are actually going to be like pigs, who are embedding, they have the embedment of the plan that we saw, or maybe I would say pandemic that was allegedly, one would say not planned. Now, what would it be the solution for the people for this post-COVID trauma? People are dying, people's organs are crashing, people are dying daily. What was the plan, and what will it be? A kind of a trauma, a kind of management that nations must really adhere in order to assist the people. Now, to be honest with you, before I even answer this, these are one of the questions that made me to weep, because when I realized that people are dying, people are still or could still die. When I look at the morbidity, mortality, and the fatality that is on the ground without any taking responsibility, I knew that that is lack of leadership. So now it means we need leaders that can come on board and do a proper research on what is it that has transpired. And let me tell you something, what is it that has transpired upon humanity? And if that could be the case, and this must be brought to the court, and this must be brought before the people, and it must be a public knowledge and public participation. And also privately, people must participate so they can voice out and also tell their story. What is it they are going through? And then what is it that they have experienced? Many, they have experienced multiple things. Now, one woman sent his story, says, after I took this vaccine, I became this way. And this is so sad when you see somebody's body decaying, everything decaying, your fingers, but now you know what's going on. But this happened after. So now you need to know, and we must use what we call effectual causation and get to understand exactly what really happened. And independent of who is in power, who controls media, governments, business, we don't care about it. We don't care. They don't control life. Doesn't matter how big you are. One day you will answer for this. Doesn't matter how great you are. One of the days, all of us are going to answer. Doesn't matter. Yes. So if we are using a mafiaism kind of an approach, it tells you, it actually raises questions that why are presidents or governments protecting this illicit, diabolic action or whatever pandemic that we saw upon our people. Now, the solution there would be, we need an inquiry that will deal with this matter, and we need professors working on the right things. Do a proper research and bring it before the people, bring it before media, write books, present it before a media communication, and let the people know what you have discovered. Let the doctors also bring it forward. What is it that you have discovered? Why are the people dying? And then when that is done, then I trust that it will be a matter of a decision to be made whether this issue should be an issue that deserves a day in the court, and it must go to the international courts. Let it be, so that we can find justice to the matter. Doesn't matter who's behind it. Doesn't matter how powerful they are. It doesn't matter who is it. Coming to a point, if you touch humanity, you are touching God. So nobody will actually go untended and unpunished for punishing humanity. Nobody. No man has the power. It will always come back. Whether it takes 30 years, 40 years, it will come back even when they are dead. Our children will ask questions, and somebody will stand and voice this out. And we want to know what really happened. What is this pandemic all about? And what are we doing about it now? And then what's going on? If that could be the case, at the end of the day, people will have solutions and conditions in whatever is happening. Now that is period. We need to answer such, because the other day you had Safra saying, no, we believe this will be the next day. They are the one actually presenting death cases. That after people were vaccinated, most of them they died, and now they are presenting that report. We need a report. Now let me go further. Now, number 5, the issue of Phala Phala. It's a saga. It's something that when I had someone asking me what's my take as a president on Phala Phala saga, what will be my take? Remember, one of the things that the reason why Maposa is under a great scrutiny is because when he came into office, he actually claimed, you know, he claimed saying he claimed to be a saint. He claimed, how can I put it? Yes, he claimed to be a saint. People also concluded because he's allegedly, you know, so-called billionaire, maybe he cannot take anything from anybody or from any purse. And he lambasted all of those who came, and he's still working on it. And that was muchly his, I would say, in advocacy, that is his dealing with corruption. Now, it's a problem. It's like if you're a preacher, you preach against other things, and on the other hand, then the same things are subjectivity to you. It's a problem. So now you're preaching corruption, you're talking corruption, you go there, you look like, you know, your face like, you know, this president. But the problem is, and the truth is, there is no truth but in how the president has handled the matter of Palapala. There's no truth. Like, just to be honest, there's no truth. Because we understand, even politically, if you want to safeguard yourself or try to really, you know, ease the situation in South Africa. I remember even in the process of Palapala, the Guptas were brought, and we were lied that the Guptas were arrested. The Guptas were having fun wherever they are. Nobody arrested the Guptas, but so that we can, they can sway our focus. But you cannot do that for a long time. If you think South Africans are foolish, South Africans are not foolish. It cannot be forever. There's a woman who is in the very saga who actually claims, he's got a couple of claims that she was, you know, harassed, and she was all of those things, you know, and we see how the perpetrators have used the money and bought houses and cars and all of those fleshy things. And obviously that can be 4 million or whatever the amount could be. But we know that there is even the truth behind the matter will shock the country. And as for me, I am actually looking forward to that. I also salute all the political parties that took a stand on the 9th of September in Pretoria, you know, heading to the public protector, the then acting public protector. And they voiced their voices, and they went there, and these leaders boldly, and they did what had to be done. And I salute them, because we must stand for something. We need that report. Yes, it's true. All of us might not be there, but the report is needed so that they can start dealing with the matter. Because if, for example, let's say President Zuma do the same thing that President Ramaphosa did, that prior the presentation of the report or investigation to be, be underway, prior, then you use your power or your office to remove a public protector who was not appointed by you. He was not appointed by the president. The president ascends. That's all. The appointment comes through all the political parties and all, it's not the president who appointed the public protector. He does not have it. That's why the courts in the Western Cape has actually found it invalid. Why? It is according to a subsection, or meaning an act, because you cannot do that. You did not appoint the public protector, number one. And number two, the public protector has a right, like Thuli Madonsela, the professor, had a right to do it with President Zuma. And I want to say now, if the former President Zuma could have done the same thing. And that's why they waited for the public protector to be in office. If the former president had to do the same thing with Professor Thuli Madonsela, then it would be, also the power, and also one using his power, in the wrong way. But President Zuma did not do that. Actually, he encouraged that let there be of state capture. Let there be state capture. And President Zuma inquiry, he actually opened up for that. And that's that we are looking for. We're looking for our president now to say, let's allow the public protector to do investigations. Why not? I've never done anything, so why not? But when you see him removing the public protector, I knew that there's something fishy. I'm not a man who conclude matters on people. I knew that something is not right. And I know that one of the days we will know the truth, and the truth will set this country free. And not even doing it politically because some they want to gain by taking him out of office. No, not even trying to do it as a presidential run for the ANC elective conference. No, not for that. I'm talking about him as a president before the nation, not reporting the crime. And if it was done by ordinary men or us, hawks will be on the house of that leader, house of that ordinary person, acting it up and, hyping it up. Now it's on the president. Nobody does anything. So I think that must be looked upon. So the Phala Phala saga, same saga that it was with Langa. So let us allow Phala Phala also to go through and have a day in court. Very much important. The president must come clean on that matter. It's very much important. For me, I would say it's good for him, not just only for the people to know the truth, but even for the president. President, come on, let the people know the person you are. And I can tell you, told them that you are incorruptible. You told them that you will never ever steal money. You will never ever do money laundering. You take money from outside and bring it into your house. Or you will never put money on your sofa. You will never put money under your bed or in your bed or howsoever, technically it was. Whatever it is, you told them that. So go back and tell them again that, you know what, I'm ready. And let's see. And I can tell you this, if we find out that the president stole no money, the men will be like, I'm telling you, generationally will think about the great deeds that the president has done. But if it is found that there is a criminal liability, unfortunately, you cannot act saint and demonize other leaders in order to hold power or hold on power. Now, let me just... that's Phala Phala saga. So the Phala Phala saga for me, hail to the Prince and all the leaders that stood out. And I'm standing to say the acting must definitely present such. Maybe the acting doesn't even have to act, because now the real public protector is back. So now let's talk about that one. The real public protector, Advocate Bosisiwe Mkhwebane. Oh my God. Now I'm going to say this: the real public, even at the inception of her, office, she has never enjoyed her office. From the inception of the office, she was targeted, and she dealt with matters that even other public or the public protectors that couldn't deal with, if they were not proper. But I'm talking about the public protector who deals with matters without a favor, also without prejudice, and I mean the matter of the APSA, all these matters that actually had to do with president, white supremacy, all these matters that the public protector is actually dealing with on behalf of the public of South Africa. And I can tell you that we have never had a public protector for so long of this magnitude. And I want to salute the public protector. Advocate Bosisiwe Mkwebane. And remember, I'm not taking sides. You know, I'm in the purpose. I'm dealing with the purpose. I don't take sides. I actually stand for the purpose. So I don't take factions. I stand for the purpose. And I know what a purpose can do. A purpose is better than a faction. So now in this manner, this woman, as an advocate, as our public protector, our leader, in chapter 9 institution of the public protector's office, has stood all the test of time, being ridiculed by courts, couldn't get also find justice, but at last justice prevailed. And we are waiting the public protector would be able to actually deal with that matter. It doesn't matter what it takes. She will deal with it. So, public protector, Advocate Muslim Kebani, I stand as a citizen of this country and as the president of the government of ECOFORUM. We are saying to you, forgive us as a nation, forgive us as the public. Sometimes people don't know. People are fed with what they see on the news. Forgive us as leaders, public protector. We see that we're working on matters that many people can't work on. Media, the whole, everybody can work on the matter. So yours is to investigate the matter for on behalf of the public, meaning sake and interest, and let it be done. And we are fully saying that your office is absolutely being I would say executed with the greatest admiral. I would say you are indeed a public servant. You are indeed a public meaning servant, and your servanthood has accepted in this purpose that where you don't even mind that you lose your own job, you lose your own integrity, you lose your own face in order to tell the truth. And may the truth prevail. May God be with you and protect you at all times. And let the truth be known by the people of this nation. The public protector, Advocate Muslim. Now, you see, these are multiple of questions. I'm actually trying to run on the matters, but it's not easy because you're trying to make sure that such questions which are asked, like you see now on the state capture report. The state capture report we see now being presented to us partly, like in particles. This one, this way. It's more like, to me. I actually followed state capture not now, but even when it was Scopa, when it was led by Comrade Godi. And I understood why Comrade Godi could not be part of the parliament in this season, because Comrade Godi actually exposed many of those things in his name. And the man being one member in parliament for his party, the man stood for the truth. And I know that he never actually pleased many people, but Comrade Godi stood for the truth, and Comrade Godi made an assurance that people are booked, and Comrade Godi presented such matters which of national interest, whether be corruption, whether be any kind of mismanagement of funds. Comrade Godi did it at Scopa. Every chair that actually now oversee it at Scopa, they were the targets because they were the ones actually who were executing the true state of what do you call it, state capture and inquiry. They were doing the true state capture without a budget. They were doing a state capture from a salary without a budget. And now this will show you that we do have people, even if they don't have a 1 billion, what do you call it, a 1 billion budget, they are able to serve this country accordingly at Scopa. Go back and check. You would see that public funds under Comrade Godi and those who followed, they managed to deal with the matter. That's why all of them were targeted, were removed from their positions, and strategically so. But now, a sad thing is when you see judiciary allegedly being captured. It is alleged because in January, when Comrade, if I can call him, or Minister, released that article or that message, we all, everyone was to the point of the deputy chief justice. Everybody was offended. But the truth of the matter is, obviously, we know right now that now the state capture took its place and took its time to where it is now. But now the report could not be delivered at once. We have to wait for somebody to deliver it and work on it and all of those things. And now a bit before the elective conference of ANC, now October, something must be revealed. People must be arrested. It is for me as a leader to say, I am actually praying that the Hawks will not actually now be part of that. The Hawks will be honorable and they will stand robustly. I'm praying right now that nobody can capture them. They are independent and they will stand and they will not actually do what needs to be done so that justice can be in the country. We can't afford this kind of it's barbaric. It's more like dictatorship, where when you are a president, you can actually now do like in the country as much as you can. So what about ordinary South Africans? They will also do as they will. So we become a banana republic. That's what we have been called. Because if we can, as the state security, allow such things to happen, then we have allowed the injustices of our people. So we need to stand there and say, no. I am even standing right now that even the lawgivers, all that are in judiciary, they will turn their minds. It's my prayer. I'm praying as a praying president. I'm a praying president. I'm praying right now that may all those in judiciary, those in the first ember and the leg of this government, may also they also be awakened. They're going to stand and say no to corruption and no to propaganda. And we are going to stand for the right thing. And I trust you now, you'll see there's going to be an emergence of the three leagues, the law, the legislature, and the executive that will actually take on and make an assurance that this country is actually now at its stance with an incorruptible seed. I see that happening very soon. Now, that's very much important. That's very much important. So on the state capture report, we're supposed to have received the report already, and the courts, whether they would see the report and find it in order to, proceed with prosecutions or not. It's very simple. We proceed or not. I was actually asked a question pertaining land, and mine will be simple. It was indeed a deception to tell people that you can receive land without compensation. That is it's more of inciting war and hopes, false hope, nochal. So mostly you are saying to the people they can come into the private house, break in and take on. So now, in simple terms, I'm going to open up to this now. If that will be the case, is the same way with all parties. A question could be asked. When you have your elective conferences of any political party, do you, political parties, invite anyone from anywhere to come in those political elective conferences? No, you don't. It's a private matter. It's a matter of that political party. For example, if you as a political leader would open your house, anywhere, wherever you stay, and say, anyone who wants to come and be part of this house any day. You are there with your children, your wife, then comes a stranger from the streets, they go inside your house, they sit on your sofas. Now, these things cannot happen this way. We understand that land was stolen. We are not foolish on that matter. We know there's no white man who came with land. Our white brothers all also they acknowledge such. They are not denying. Those who deny are those who are denialists. But the true white men who know where they are from, they don't deny it. They know even the privileges that comes with it. And now, if you have to come to text or to talks, we need to be directive. The matter is not just a matter of parliament, it's the matter that must be put before the courts. Because if we say you have stolen land, it means there is a criminal liability. And muchly you can't detect it from 1652, but you can detect it from 1913. And from 1913, the National Act will tell you what really transpired, how mischievous, how crooked it was, that actually they were told that land affairs will take care of the land, and which was not the case. Until today, our grandfathers, they fought, and they were promised to be given back their land. They never got the land until today. Privatization then sealed the deal when now President then F.W. de Klerk, his duty was to bring those kinds of major acts before the courts of law and before the parliament, and they were all repealed. Even the one of 1913, 1936, 1771, whether it has to do with property or meaning for whether agriculture, and now even private property rights and all of those things, they were sealed there, and a repeal was therefore presented before. So the derogation that was done and improperly, and it was done prior the dawn of the new democracy, prior the dawn of the new South Africa, prior the nation, prior the discussion of Codesa. So they taped that, and they actually, most people will think, these people have taken from us, and they could not speak on our behalf. Let me tell you what happened. That is not the case. The case is everything was already dealt with. It was already dealt with pertaining to the Constitution. Now that's why they also knew who they want as to the DNA of the Constitution. And one day, it will come to pass. Now, one day the issue of the land will be dealt with, but property is real, and political parties must stop lying to people. We want the people of South Africa to receive their land. The government of ECOFORUM believes in land restitution and its diplomacy, where the truth must be spoken. If the issue is a criminal liability, it must be brought before the court of law. Very much important. And aligned to the National Act of 1913, and take it through to 36 and 1771. And then I can tell you, you'll find you can build a good case there, which is what as the government of ECOFORUM. So our argument is simple to say, if it's dealt with, if we deal with in that manner, we want to make sure that privatization doesn't have its grip in the court of law, and how it was formed, and what manner or crooked way of really forming such prior the dawn of a new democracy. Now, if the court can find it worth to hear as the government of ECOFORUM on that matter, then we'll be able to present land that belongs to the people. Firstly, land that belongs to the kings and the queens, and land that belongs to the people. Know that everybody equally so will all be land owners. Very much important, and I think this must be done as the government of ECOFORUM. We are not here to play politics or be rhetoric. We're talking the truth, and one of the days you shall hear what we actually say, or all our declarations, and I tell that they would muchly come to part, in order to know that there is a leadership and there is a political movement that is for the people. So in that regard, on the issue of land, we believe in land restitution, because we believe in restoration, because when you restore a thing, it comes in greater weight, in greater kind, quality and quantity. So now, in other words, if you give me back the land, you must also give me back the market. You must also, from the land bank and banks, give me back the money, so that I can work on the land. So the issue of land is not the issue. You give me land for squatter camp. No, we are saying we believe in smart locations and smart cities. We don't want unplanned locations anymore. Our people have been subjected to unplanned locations, and this has been happening for many years. We don't want that anymore. We don't want to start living like we are in like today in one of the best locations in a country called Alexandra, a location that gave birth to presidents of this country. But today, Alexandra looks like, nothing's been done from the inception of democracy. So we don't want to see the whole country being like that. We want all of our people to have the best houses, to have the best sewage systems, the best town planning, and we need planning in whatever we do. So now the issue of land is critical, and the failure to attend it accordingly and hyping people for votes, that won't actually assist anything. But as the government of ECOFORUM, we are looking forward on the matter to work on it and make sure that we deliver accordingly. So the matter would be on the court of law. We don't care whether we'll be fighting which billionaire. Doesn't matter. We will also trust that even our billionaires will also be attracted, will be there with us in order to deal with the matter, so that we stand on behalf of the people accordingly. And then when we present this in the court, then the court will tell us whether there is a weight on the matter, because there is a weight on the matter, and we have assessed the matter. We have seen also that criminal liability is there. We have seen that there. Yes, dirty hands, on that cookie jar, we have seen those hands there, and the people who came on in a certain land in the southern hemisphere, and then they therefore saw the beauty and the wealth of the land, and then they were so bahala ini indawo. Yes, bahala belungu. So now, in other words, we have seen umuntu ohalayo. You know, theft is theft is something else. Though it is now backed up by systems, by power and money, but theft is theft. So bebahalela into zethu. So now we want to ask the court to tell us ukuthi lo mlungu makasenza ephuma ehola laphuma khona bese uyalibona, ubona indawo, ubona ubuhle bemvelo bese uyahala umlungu bese uyahala bese uthi no, we can't let this land to be in the hands of the chiefs and how they want to call them, which are kings and queens. Bese uyahala in order to prepare or purport a kind of a way on how to can get that land in their hands. And they did it. And they subjected all the kings that were also overseers of the land to World War I. And they did it because they thought they were going to die. But those kings never died because God was with them. They came back again. They took their way back in 1939. And now they thought they were going to die on the Second World War. They could not die. They came back. They were looking for their land and they were not given their land. So the land issue, it's still not in the shelves. You're working on it. And as the government of ECOFORUM, we are asking for everybody to come on board and work with us, work with me as the president of this movement, and hold hands with us so that we can be able to deliver to the people of South Africa. And see that there is a case in here, and it will make great sense to why without compensation will not work, whether we like it or not, because the matter is private ownership. Now, failure of this, which I need to really share this with us, because it has actually broke my heart to see and to know how far we have failed our people. Because when you look at how far we failed, maybe we might be talking about big things and ESCOM and other things, but I need us to look at this small thing. And I think this one might change your mind, because this one would actually now create a different in regards to what we need to hear. And this talk is more relevant, especially when you know yourself, in seeing so many things that you can label as fairness. Now, I want to deal this very well to us today. Ladies and gentlemen, it's important for me to deliver this to you because we need to check on the matter. I just wanted to answer because people were asking, and the question has been simple in regards to failures that we see all over the country, and one of it, which is it's been the reconstruction development program, which we call RDP. And my answer to that is that even white people or brothers come and talk about RDPs, which they don't stay in. You know, I want to say this, please. Your families don't stay in RDPs. You don't stay in RDPs. What are you talking about? I think it's time for other people to just shut up. Just to shut your mouth and just shut it. As I say people to shut up, I'm not saying you, but I'm not actually particularly discriminating you. But I think we need to, as people, at times to just shut, be quiet. What are you talking about? What do you know about RDPs? Have you ever slept in an RDP? Do you know how it is to put 7 children in the RDP? Okay, let's say, yes, anyone can talk about everything. Even me, even you. Maybe you have never been in an RDP. Have your family been in an RDP? Do you know what's an RDP? RDP is a form of the greatest degradation that was actually allowed by even our first president. Yes, let's talk about whether, but it's better for the people. People did not have the house. Let's say it's better than a shack. Let's say RDPs are better because at least the government has done something for the people. Let's talk about that. It's fine. Maybe we want to talk about it that way, to say at least they've done something. It's good even for me. We can talk about it. But the truth is, the RDP, which is the reconstruction or development program, was not a program of a house. It was not a program of a house. RDP program was not a program for a house, or however we call it. Some call it matchbox, some call it small, some call it wow. RDP program was not a program to build a house, especially the house that we have now. The RDP as a program was to be a program and to be presented also before CODESA as a program of reconstruction, reconstructing the economics of the people of this country. Not the house, not the small match house or box house. It was a program that has to deal with the current administrator dealing with the injustices that our people have actually been put in. It was a program of what? Of restoration of what? The economics, household economics, township economics, city economics, suburban, urban economy, the macro economy in its complexity. Now, this was that program. It was not a house. So don't come here and tell me it's better, at least. No. You are patronizing us. It is a program that has to deal with socio-economic justice. But you never did it in that way. You went out and you actually found, I don't know whose architect is that. The architect must be revoked. His or her license. That's bad. That's very bad. That's very bad. An architect that will afford a nation to have such a house. An architect that has afforded our people to be put to shame again. Now I'm going to the issue of RDP, which is reconstruction, or however you call it, development program. The issue, or I would say the core vision, was to deal with the socio-economic injustices that have been there disadvantaging our people, so that you can reconstruct. It was a program that comes from reparation from the masters and from those in the apartheid region, and now a giveaway, a handover of power of the economics in order to make sure that the people of this country are actually now being what? They are being served well. But that is not the case. Now, here comes out an architect who afforded. I'm saying the architect that has come with an RDP house must be arrested, must be revoked their license. You cannot afford and come up with such a plan and give our people a 2-bedroom laced house like a curtain in which the walls are curtained, a husband and wife, children are right this side like it's in the kitchen, and then our people are, whether it is a 4-room or 3-room, people are put in that kind of a predicament. And we have allowed it for many years that our people will be put there, and then worse, they create another form of injustice by what? By actually now creating a tender system that would muchly take the house and compromise the quality of the same, unqualifying house for the people. So RDP was supposed to be for reconstruction of what this country has lost. But now you can see the failure of CODESA and the failure of the negotiation. If you want to see it in a nutshell, just present an RDP to the global community, you will know that South Africa has failed to actually now serve its people accordingly. Do our people live in RDPs? Yes. My family live in RDPs. My people live in RDPs. The people I love, the people I know as an RDP. We slept in an RDP. No, but what a ridiculous kind of a service that you have actually has done. It's an inservice to humanity, to the people of this country. How can you do that? Now, what do we mean? I mean that you can do better. You could have done better, but you couldn't. That's why the government of ECOFORUM went after we went for the research of understanding the failure of the RDP program, not as a house, but as a reconstruction for socio-economic development. Then I knew that we could have something better. I asked a young man to say that as an architect, what is for us? The young man brought, especially with the totality of the amount of the money used on an RDP, which is tender-preneed, and that the money used in an RDP that is there, the money is given to some comrades and some cadres, and people are chowing and getting the money that belongs to the people, and now by itself it takes away the quality of the house of the people. Then now look at what happens. It's that 2-bedroom house. It leaks at night. It breaks the wall. It fades away. The paint is just they call it galak. It's just something that you just put there. You put it there, then it's like, it's a disaster in what this government has done to our people. This young man brought a 6-bedroom, a 6-room house, open plan, 3-bedroom, and bought a toilet or bathroom, which has a toilet and a bathroom in it, a shower. Then it went to a kitchen, and then there's an open space, which is an open plan. It goes with where you can put your table and put your chairs or your sofas if you have them. But now let me show you this house. 6-room house, 3-bedroom. Mom and dad can sleep there. Or mom or dad. They can sleep there. The second room, if you've got 2 children or 4 or 6, other children can sleep in that one room. The others can sleep in one room. Girls there, boys there. Then you have your dining room. And then you've got also your sitting room, which is an open plan. Your dining room, we need a table. Every house in South Africa must have a table. As a president, I would tell every house needs a table as parliament. Tables represents parliament in our homes. That's where we speak to our loved ones, our children. But now But now, if you go to the majority of South Africans, there's no table in our homes. And that's why everybody eats outside behind the house. Some eats in the front. There's no order. When will there be order? When there'll be any social development in terms of our behavior at home, and put your children here and sit with them and talk to them on the table. Matters of politics must come to that level. Social justice is not only about women, it's about making sure that you actually now bring back moral even on the very houses of the people of this nation. So you need a table there. Important. So a 6-room house is proper for the people. We are going to build at least 1 to 100 of those and make sure that we make a pilot project in a particular province. And we are going to actually showcase those houses on what is in the government plan with the same amount of money that they can use for RDPs. One would say there's no budget. Let me tell you something. Let me tell you. Go and know and do your research on how much an RDP costs. Not from a tenderpreneur, from where it cost, from human settlement. How much does it cost? Ask me if you can build a house with that money. People have built good houses with less than 100,000. Black people using a Mexican brick, the big one, big houses and good houses. Don't come and patronize us here. We have been living before this government. We have been living before even apartheid. So there have been life there. People have built big houses where they can have garage with less than 100,000. Yes. Yes, I know things were a bit cheaper there. But yes, they have done it. And they've built good houses, windows. And we're proud of doing that without having 200,000. But they managed to do it. How about if you have such monies for RDP? Some will say 100 and something thousand. Some will say 200,000. So the money between 100,000 and 200,000 can build a house for a black man. Don't come here and tell me it cannot. It can. Because they were doing it at a certain standard, but it became a good standard. Hey man, black people thought they've got a thinking tank. Don't think you're foolish. They will put those Mexican bricks and then they will put a rough cast there. Why? Because the rough cast will therefore what? Will keep the bricks and make sure that the bricks are kept for years. You can go today in some places in Northwest. You'll find a big house that was built before this government in 1990 and 1989 or in 1987. That big house is still existent today. It has rough cast on it, a rough cast. You take your cement and you mix it, then after that, they rough cast. Then it goes like all those small things, then it protects the wall. It makes it stronger. Don't come here with your architectural insufficiency here and tell us that here we have built you houses. You have built nobody houses. You have brought us problems. With the same house, a husband sits this side, children at this side. You can't have your privacy. Families are dead. There's so much that is happening because of this house that is presented to our people. So failure to the reconstruction development program, which is the RDP, is actually being modeled through a matchbox house, and we can fix that. As the government of ECOFORUM, we are looking forward to fix it and make sure that done. Ladies and gentlemen, I am just going to close there, and I'm just going to wrap up and make sure that you catch up on this so that all the answers that you required are actually now being presented. Now, let me just touch on this quickly. so that I can do it, and I trust God will bless South Africa. Now, the politics of ECOFORUM are simple. Our politics is localization. We want to bring everything down to a local man and a local woman. Everything, wealth, whether it's economics, whether it's education, down to local men. So now, when you talk of the government of ECOFORUM, our politics are simple: localization. That's our politics. Politics. Localization. Now, let me take it further there and also deal with one of the important issues in a minute: domestic, foreign, and also immigration policies. Important. Let me be quick on that one. Very much important. Domestic policies. Now, the government of ECOFORUM has in documentation, if you need our domestic, our general organizational policies, we will present it to you at your request. We have policies on board which are actually now being presented to the nation, and we are slowly getting there so people can know our heartbeat. Now, let me start with the domestic policies. Domestic policies, our domestic policies covers a wide of goods and services by tightening import tariffs, and in order to reduce the quantity of merchandise entering our shores. Only import goods and services with which are not produced and rendered in SA yet. Now, I want us to look at this now. It's very important. Now, domestic policies, with its wide range, including business, education, energy, healthcare, law enforcement, money and taxes, natural resources, social welfare, personal rights, and freedoms. Now, people don't know that even when you are called small, but you are a thinking tank, you have properly policies that are actually now keeping us where we are now, and which are more, even far much greater than those that are being actually now hailed. Now, look at this. I'm going to deal with a couple of those, not all. Under business, we will be also touching importation and exportation, and black business and funding. And also in importation, we must restrict the influx of goods and service by tightening import tariffs in order to reduce the quantity of merchandise entering our shores. And very much important there, we also look at only import goods and services with which are not produced and rendering in SA yet. Now, exportation, we increase demand and supply of our goods and services in Africa and the global market. Now, things that I want to touch which are important, domestic policies, but let me touch on, for example, education. All South Africans must access education as the highest priority and national interest. Free education is possible, prioritized as a national interest. Basic education must be our priority to free education to all our children. And also, we create an international standard of education in South Africa, and all the schools in the rural and the urban be treated equally, and introduce a common syllabus for all. Now, we re-educate our elders through development in order to improve individual economy. Now, reassure every student in matric a financial hand for universities and colleges, and also students results, admission, and also shall receive funding for their studies. Now, ours is to educate every South African in their own languages and create a South African education, which is called a SciES. Now, SciES will therefore deal with education that will absolutely now be connected to economy and speak to the economy of this nation. Now, on energy, we invest in power stations all over SA, invest in education of our electrical engineers who holds the ability to invent a new way of energy supplication in the 21st century. South Africa must be a lead in energy all over Africa by accumulation of its infrastructure all over the Republic and also to Africa. Now, we also a policy domestically on healthcare. All South Africans deserves a public health assurance, meaning a healthcare insurance. Every individual intended to reside in South Africa is requested within 3 months of arrival to take out an insurance policy, which is then applied, meaning also retroactive arrival date, since only those with valid residence, meaning more than 3 months, can take out meaning SAHI policy. The problem of undocumented immigrants remains unresolved. So it means now even the foreign nationals, they can also be part of the South African meaning health insurance, and then we can also meaning bring them on board. But there is a process in how they can qualify for other things and also certain levels of health, which is very much important. So now everybody is inclusive to a certain extent. Basic care package must be available to all South Africans, and the public health care insurance must cater for surgeries or transplants and all health complications. Very much important. Now, I need to do something quickly as we coming to our end. Now, dealing with foreign policies. Because policies, if they are being put well, foreign policies will give us all rights and freedoms. And then whether we are national or we are foreign international or nationals, then we'll be able to can run with the matter accordingly in regard to jobs, in regard to any other thing, meaning doing it, but doing it through prejudice. Very much key, and very much important. And let me just allow that as we proceed closer. So in terms of foreign policy, I trust that every political party or even the current government must have a clear foreign policy that deals with the matter in regards to how we receive our brothers and sisters from all over Africa, because we cannot allow a state where the country is actually now, it cannot be led, and then it is unduly, and you find that people don't even know what to do next. At the end, we find that people are taking law in their hands, which is not what we need to see happening. So we need to make sure that matter. So now I'm going to touch two matters here: a reactive, not proactive matter. Reactive foreign policies. Usually, we should know they are actually now shaped by global and regional events and conditions. Though there may be underlying principles of value, foreign policies are often reactive. In other words, it is actually formed as a what? As a response, not an initiative. So South Africa has a strong commitment to multinational groups like African Union. So some of our foreign policies decisions are only made after consultation or negotiation with the governments of other nations. So they are not just made out of the blue. You want them to be made according to your party's policy. No, they are made in accordance to our relationships we have with the African Union. So external factors are such. So depending on the issue, formulating foreign policies can require consideration of a range of factors and information. So many of these factors which would be such, the foreign policies of other governments will be outside the government's control of influence. Now, when considering policy, the government must research widely and work within the constraints of external factors and conditions. And when you balance this interest, you need to also look at what foreign policies and also how they can affect South Africa's relationships with other numbers of countries. So making this decision sometimes, it's a delicate, moreover, balancing act. A trade deal with Japan, for example, may have a ramification for our trading relationship with China. Committing troops to the conflict East may affect our relationship with what? With other nations. We have seen it with Russia. If we don't back Russia, it might affect us in what Russia is doing, and it also affect our relationship with the USA. So now every meaning relationship we have, also in regard to our foreign policy, would be affected. But now it will be reactive as a response of that particular emergency that we also need to adhere. So it's very much important to do that. So in regard to immigration policy in South Africa, so we need to integrate this initiative and then limited to immigrants 5 years in the country, for example, mainstreaming it. Now, the practice of reaching people with a one background through social programming policies that address the needs of the general population. So we need to make an assurance that anyone who comes into the country, they come for work, they come for such. Now, we as the government of ECOFORUM, we see that need because we need to have two types of asylums. For example, refugee protection, subsidiary protection. And the asylum essentially rests on what? On the serious, the possibilities that the asylum seeker could be the victim of what? Persecution or harm in his or her country or region. So we need to learn, and our people must learn that there are such things. So not everybody is in the country. No, not everybody. Some of the people that are here as refugees, and then they need to be labeled as such, but they are brothers. We need to know that they've ran from their country because they were victims to be killed by a certain faction or whatsoever. So these asylums may be denied or revoked for individuals who have committed crimes or whose presence would be a threat to the society or national security. That one is period. In every country, anyone who's a threat cannot just come through the borders and expect to be in the borders. We need to be strict on the matter. So refugees and beneficiaries of subsidiary protection have the right to live and work in South Africa, to bring their spouse and children. Yes, refugees and beneficiaries of subsidiary protections are required to attend some civic training programs and, if necessary, language classes. Refugees and beneficiaries of subsidiary protections have similar rights to social benefits as South African citizens do, but only have access to certain special and aid programs during the time that their application for asylum is being processed. So these policies are being put by the government, whether it would be your visas, your immigration, laws that are being put in place, your work visas implemented by the government of ECOFORUM. These are muchly practical. Family immigration, how coming out as a family, whether you are getting married to a South African, all of those things must be put into place so that we all can understand whether someone is illegal or whatsoever. That is critical, so that at the end of the day, we know that we have the right people in the country that are actually now formally and legally in closure and confidence. We want to bring solutions. We want people to learn and moreover present, closure to certain topics that were actually handled. Now, one of the things that was one of the questions that was asked is whether would I be standing as actually 2024, which to me, I would say yes, we would, myself, and even as a family, it will be an honor as we are standing, and moreover, on behalf of the people and also on behalf of the government of ECOFORUM in 2024. And our national plan of action is underway. And may God bless South Africa, and may God bless the government of ECOFORUM. God bless you.